One server, two issues. Just a couple quickies. Scenario. Somehow another department in a different part of the city bought their own NetWare server. They run it themselves, but are for the most part clueless. This was going back to the early 90s. I have no idea how they were ever allowed to do this. Also, as this was the 90s, connectivity wasn't all wired and we had some sort of wireless comms between sites. First one, we're uploading a new database for them, but each time we try we get an out of space error. The admin assures me it's a 1GB disk. He was very proud of his 1GB of space back then, and there's loads of space. This ping-pongs for a few days until the penny drops at his end. He's enabled user quotas. Second one, we are yet again copying his new database files over, but this time we can't see his server. Assures us his department can see it, and the problem must be at our end. We can see everything else in the network, bar his. Again, this ping-pongs until yet again the penny drops at his end. He's got someone in looking at the roof of their building who happens to have stuck their gear right in front of the comms dish. Moral of both stories, leave IT to the folk who may have a clue. What's up guys, welcome back to Storytime with Uncle Jon. Today we're taking a look at r/talesfromtechsupport. Didn't do much uploading this week. It's been crazy around here. So for the last week there's been crap piled in here. I mean seriously. If you had seen this view a couple days ago, you would realize just how nuts it's been. So just a little heads up, videos are going to change. I'm not sure how. Locations, the audio should roughly be the same, but I'm not sure about the view because it drives me nuts. I know you guys don't give a rat's ass about the camera view, but when there's piles of crap behind me because we're prepping the house, we're going to try to put it on the market, change locations again. So anyway, we got to find another house to move into. So it's going to be a wild and woolly fall. So bear with me. The good news is, as we're staging the house, with so many of us living here and running a business out of the house, two businesses, it's kind of hard to stage in a traditional format. But as we're getting the house ready to show, things should get less and less cluttered on the surfaces. You know, I got to deal with all my crap on this shelf and this and that. So if nothing else, this is a good exercise to help force me to clean up my junk. Anyway, on to the stories. No, you've caused this. I work at a rather large MNC, and we have an MSP helping with the daily mundane tasks of taking care of incidents that come along. Recently, we had an instance where 90+ incidents got generated because the monitoring solution detected a drift of over 60 seconds from the actual time. Actors in this story are me, Windows team member, monitoring team member, a network expert, not MSP, networking and DNS team member, and AD team member. I was in another call before this whole issue started and couldn't drop off because that was another storm I didn't want on my horizon. By the time I joined the call to discuss the time issue, people on the call were already trying to figure things out. NW says, I don't see any latency in the network going towards the AD servers or the NTP servers. Win says, it's not a Windows issue, we need to figure out why time shifted so much. AD, tell us why your time source shifted. AD says, our time source didn't shift. In fact, we depend on Infoblox, DNS, as our time source. Infoblox is the agreed time source for this infrastructure. A lot of murmuring about getting DNS to join the call. DNS says, yes, tell me, you guys have a problem with time shifting? AD says, yes, and due to that, we've lost one jump host / bastion host. DNS says, yeah, I'm looking at Infoblox. We don't see that the time has shifted by any amount recently. You might have to take a look at your systems. AD and Win both say, but we've got incidents, so many of them. You need to tell us why this happened. At this point, I'm thinking, what the hell's going on? In the meantime, I take a look at the ticket queue and log into some servers that had a ticket raised for them about time shift. What I notice is the time has not shifted. Neither has any of the servers been pointed to the same time source. I was pretty confused at this point. I say, can someone get Mon on this call? Windows says I'm on it. Mon says, hello team, tell me, how can I assist? I say, so we have 90+ incidents which were raised and got cleared in our systems for time shifts. Can you tell us more about why this happened? Please remember, no one's blaming you or the systems you manage. We just need to figure out what happened to avoid it in the future. That's all. Mon says, oh, okay. So when the agent, and he goes on to explain what happens in a normal situation. I say, let me stop you right there. Sorry for doing this, but in the interest of time, we know how your monitoring agent works. What we need to figure out here is exactly what happened. Win says, your system had a time shift, which is why so many incidents got raised. Take those tickets to your queue and resolve them. Mon says, do you have any evidence of this fact? I say, Win, let's review what we all can see, and then start asking anyone to take a look at their systems. We go through all the evidence I lay out for them. Quite a lot of servers got an incident generated for them, and most of these servers were reporting to a specific monitoring server. All of them went off at the same time. All of them seem to have come back on track at the same time. I would have loved if this happened, but alas, none of our systems are synchronized swimmers. I say, you see these things? Also, none of the servers have an event, which tells us that the system clock was corrected. I have a doubt that either your monitoring server's time was off or something else was off, due to which the monitoring solution thought that the server's clock was off by roughly 60 seconds. I say, Mon, please investigate on this topic and do let us know if you find anything. We disband the call and create a group chat to have further updates on this topic. Mon says, yeah, we restarted the service on the monitoring server because it had crashed. That's caused this whole fiasco. I say, you know what to do. Moral of the story, if you don't present evidence or a strong logic to put your suspicions forward, people will push back on any query you put forward. Quite honestly, I don't understand any of that time shift stuff. Anyway, but the moral of the story does make sense because, before you start pointing fingers and shifting blame, everybody needs to figure out, okay, what was the end result? What happened here? Did an actual time shift occur? And if so, why? Why did all these incidents go off? And everybody needs to look at their own part before other people start pointing fingers, And half the time, more than half the time probably, people are so quick to, judge someone else's department, someone else's skills, point the finger at them, shove the blame off before they've even looked in-house to see if something in their system went wrong. So, and 90% of the time, if something like that goes wrong, everybody needs to work together to figure out why, because, usually no one person can figure it out by themselves. It's a team effort. Everybody needs to work together. All your systems need to work together. So too many people to play in it wasn't our stuff game, things like that. HR downplayed my work. Now their software is barely working. So this happened during appraisal season a few months ago. HR told me that I didn't deserve a good raise because, apparently, all I did through the year was bug fixes and improvements. They said I hadn't delivered many features, and features are what actually matter for a raise. Well, fast forward to now. Since I got the hint, I've been focusing on feature development only, just like they wanted. You know what I'm not doing anymore? Improving and maintaining their system. And guess what? Their software is breaking down more and more, becoming harder to use, with all sorts of bugs they conveniently ignored. HR recently complained saying things weren't working properly. All I could do was smile and remind them that I'm focused on the features now, just like you said. It's funny how suddenly bug fixes and improvements seem important again. Maybe this will teach them not to undervalue the importance of maintenance next time. Again, you get the bean counters and the HR people and, okay, yes, maybe the core focus of your company is to create features. But if nobody's maintaining things and repairing things that go wrong, and things are going to go wrong, it happens, then the other stuff is going to be useless too. So you can't have it both ways. Instead, just like the last story, before you point fingers and, accuse people of things or whatever, or allude to things, then maybe you should sit down with, everybody, all the higher up muckety mucks and maybe some of the lower end people to figure out, okay, we don't see as many features coming out, but this guy's keeping all the maintenance and stuff up, and bug fixes. So what can we do to kind of balance things out? Do we need another person in here to help with more features or to work on the bug fixes while this guy works on more features? Or, there's a system breakdown somewhere if you're expecting more features out of people. So the other problem with people in higher up departments like HR and the C-suites and things like that, most of them don't even know how the actual business runs. Like what happens down on the floor? What are the holdups? And they don't even ask half the time. They just want to start slinging crap like monkeys in a zoo. So, just throwing feces at each other. And there's a visual I didn't need today. But I still find it amazing how many people in the upper echelon have no idea what actually makes their company go. They just want to see the bottom line. So, probably not change in my lifetime. Where percussive maintenance is the fix. When is it not? As part of my job, I look after these older machines that were made around the early 2000s. Shock, horror, we're still looking after them today. Parts are becoming harder to find. One of the parts included is a touchscreen. They're pretty solid after all these years. The only issue is there's a plastic case surround to it on its edges. So after a while, things like dirt, grease, or whatever could possibly get caught between the screen and the plastic surround. So we discovered quickly the best fix is a little punch to the screen. Nothing too heavy, just enough to get it working again. One venue we look after didn't like me. They thought they were more important than the rest of the town. Every now and again, I'd get the manager whining, why wasn't I there the moment the machine played up? You'd ignore the crap. One day he was complaining about the machine not responding to touch, threatening to throw it into the street, etc. I gave it a wipe over with some iso alcohol, a friendly punch, and it's back working again. A couple days later, I get a call from the bigwigs in the big city saying they got a complaint from one of the venues. Apparently, I was very angry at them and attacked the machine. Sitting there scratching my head, when was I angry? Yeah, it happens sometimes, but things lately have been fine. Then it hit me, pun intended. I punched the screen. When I explained the venue and the screen, they just laughed and said they'll send the venue a copy of our repair procedures proving it's an actual fix. First of all, the venue was the one, or somebody at the venue, was the one who said, was threatening to throw the thing into the street. So you coming in there, giving that screen a little wipe down and a love tap, I mean, how does that equate to attacking and being angry? Now, maybe you were angry. Maybe you had a little bit of an attitude. Whatever. It is what it is. People have rough days. Some people have an attitude and show it on their face. Some people just, that's just the way they look, the resting bee face. But how could they say you attacked the screen when all you literally did was give it a little slap? I mean, if you actually hit it hard enough to do any damage, it wouldn't ever have come back on to begin with. So, I don't know. People are just stupid. At least the people that called you from higher up were willing to actually send the procedural manual over and make sure that that was in there as part of the maintenance, if they were serious. Client has a what now? Just found this sub. Having worked for a few years on an ISP call center, and later on in the back office, gave me enough material to write a book. And while the stupidity of clients was unmatched, it was even more frustrating at times when receiving trouble tickets from the call center, since most of them had little to no knowledge about computers or the internet. This was back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I remember one in particular that was cryptic to say the least. Client can't access the internet. It has a one kit oshi, whatever. This is a close approximation to English, by the way. I'm not from an English-speaking country. I was puzzled. I reread the ticket, and couldn't for the life of me understand what the hell was that. I even showed the ticket to all my coworkers. No one was able to figure it out. I just started rambling about it, and it was only after I started talking out loud and asking myself over and over again, what the hell is a kit oshi? It finally hit me. The client had one Macintosh. If I hadn't started saying it out loud, I'm not sure I would have ever figured it out. Listen, I'm born and bred in the U.S., totally English-speaking country for the most part. I mean, we have other languages, but, for the most part, anybody who's born and raised here is never expected to speak another language. I'm not sure if it's good or bad, but it is what it is. But even amongst those of us who only speak one language, when people don't know how to spell something and they just kind of take a stab at it and you have to guess what they're actually talking about, that could be a little frustrating. But it can also be a source of humor once you figure it out. So, wow. I'm not sure even out loud that I would have ever figured that one out. So, whew, good for you, man. Do them one at a time. In a previous job, I did support for a company that makes automatic people counting devices. I've mentioned these on a few occasions now. But basically, they're ceiling mounted and count people via infrared across a couple of virtual counting lines. Anyway, they're quite advanced being network accessible and also have a low-res camera view for remote setup and support. So a customer buys about 30 of these to install in their building to count people in and out, as well as on and off of each floor via the different stairways and elevator lobbies. Basically a building utilization project. Everything's working fine and everything's accessible on their main network and counting pretty accurately. The customer's happy. So fast forward a few months and we're informed that they're upgrading their network equipment, and as part of the change, everything's going on a new subnet. This means the static IP details of each device must be changed. They don't allow DHCP. Usually you just log into each device on the current network, make the changes you need, and then once the main network changes are done, the devices will just join the new network and all will be well. But this wasn't what the customer wanted. They wanted no interruption at all. A decent bit of coordination would have meant that was possible, but the guy running this project was a bit vague about timescales of each element. So for one reason or another, it was decided that they would go around to each device locally with a laptop and patch lead, and change each one, verify it works, then move on to the next one. Okay, fine, it's your time. Little did I know they'd asked their in-house IT department to do the work. The first I hear is when I get a phone call saying that they're at the first device and they need help. Okay, no worries, there's a network reset button on the back. Just hold that for 5 seconds and it will go temporarily to a known IP address. You can then connect your laptop, enter in the new details, and voila. At this point I'm told they did a full reset by holding down the reset button for 20 seconds. Oh dear. You've not only permanently lost the network settings, but every other setting too. This means it'll need setting up again to count properly, and send the data to the right server, etc. Not a 30-second job. I look on our server and see we have automatically backed up the device settings, so it's not that bad. They'll just need to connect to this one on the default IP, upload the backup file, then make new IP changes. As mentioned before, each device has a built-in camera, so when the guy connects, I casually mention that if they stood right under the device with their laptop, they should now be able to see themselves. No, was the reply. In fact, that looks like the elevator lobby from downstairs. Jesus. Okay, well that shouldn't be possible as you're physically connected to this one. Oh no, we're not. We're on the Wi-Fi. At this point I realize what they've done. Instead of resetting each one and making the changes in turn, they've reset every single one so that they're all on the default IPs and it's just random chance which one they make connection to. At this point I simply email them every backup file that I have and tell them that they're on their own. Essentially, they either need to physically turn every device off and turn them on one at a time to make the changes, or they need to make a random connection, try to work out which one it is, and hope they can make the changes before the connection drops. They did manage to fix it as I saw all the devices come back online eventually, but their no interruption ended up being a 2-day interruption. I love it when someone upstairs has a better idea. They know how they're going to implement this plan, and then they put someone in charge who has no idea what they're doing, and they end up mucking things up so bad. We've had things on construction sites go bad like that before, where the person who's coordinating has no idea how to coordinate. You may know the actual tasks of each thing that needs to happen, and you may know that people need to sort of be coordinated, but if you don't have that skill, and that is a skill all its own, to be able to coordinate multiple teams of people to be able to hit their task, as it were, at a precise time in line with everybody else doing their thing. It's like running people. If you forget the systems. If you're building a house and you have the cleanup crew come in there before we've cut all the wood and made all the sawdust, then what's the point? You've just wasted somebody else's time and cost everybody more money. Kind of a simplified, dumbed down version, but I think it's roughly the same idea. If not, you guys can tell me down below. Speaking of cleaning up, if you find yourself in need of good cleaning yourself, then do me a favor. Check out this website right here. We make soap. Did you know that? We make handmade, all natural, mostly natural. I mean, we do use some fragrance oils, but, it's a handmade process. It's oils, fats, lye, old-fashioned, soap. So if you find yourself, little on the ripe side, or maybe you're clean, but, the same old boring grocery store soaps got you a little down, check out our website. We've got tons of scents to choose from, tons of packages to choose from. We do shave stuff, traditional shave soaps that you would lather up with the old-time brush and things like that. Beard balms and oils, of course, to keep your face mane looking pretty sharp, and mine's not looking so hot right now. I didn't put anything on yet. I jumped out of the shower, dried everything off, and sat down to do this, and yeah, it looks like I just crawled out of bed, or out of a hole somewhere. But anyway, yeah, so go ahead and check out the website, and we've got a coupon code that totally escapes me at the moment. Let me take a look and see if I can find that. Starting right now and for the rest of the weekend, we're going to have a 20% off sale. And the coupon code you're going to use at checkout is SOAP20. SOAP 20. All run together, no capitals. Get yourself 20% off right now, and get yourself some soap. Stop being boring. All right, we'll see you on the next one.